What it is, what it ain't, mi gente. Welcome to another episode of Queer Folks. My name is Rosa, aka Keeping It Real, aka Sir. I know them. I'm sorry, I'm too loud on the mic. And as you can see, I have someone new here with me, Gigi, mi panita, la maestra. And so just real quick, I remember, the first episode, we talked about Valentine's Day episode that did get recorded, just didn't get posted. So we're going to scratch that. Life happens. Here we are, episode 2. And this is, by the way, Happy Pride. And we are going to talk about our coming out stories. And if we have a little fun, embarrassing moments, we'll talk about that. And we'll be answering one question sent in by one of my really good friends, mi manita Diana. So we'll get into it. I'll let Gigi introduce herself.
My name is Gigi. Happy Pride. It's nice to be here with you and sharing this moment.
Love you, bro.
I love you too. Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Pride to you.
Happy Pride.
And your wifey, by the way, she's married.
That's right.
She's off limits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Looking for my wife. You out there?
Call her up.
35 plus, please.
35 plus.
35 plus. I'm 45. I think you guys know that.
Okay, so I'm Gigi. I've been living here in the Bay Area for about 12 years. I'm a teacher. I'm also working on some projects like writing a book, and that's been a fun journey.
She's writing a book.
That's right.
See? She keeping it sexy.
That's right. Sexy is my name.
Hey.
No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so we're talking about our coming out stories, right? And so should I go ahead and do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Jump right in.
Okay. So I don't really have like a huge moment where I came out to my parents or anything like that. It was just, I knew I was queer a while back. I just didn't know how to navigate that with religious parents, right? As a Latino person, religion plays a huge role in our community.
100%.
And I didn't know how to navigate that, right? Because first and foremost, safety is the most important thing. And if you're not feeling like being you is a safe space, then you have to take care of yourself. And that's how it was in my case. I didn't feel safe at the moment, so I really held everything in, and I really try to go with what society has for women and, all the stereotypical things that is thrown our way. I would do it, meaning skirts, dresses, all of that I would do. But I always knew that really wasn't what I wanted for myself. And it didn't happen till I was 25 where I came to SF for college and kind of found my community, right? And actually, even then, like my community was Latino and it was straight women, right? And I had very much like deep love for them, but it's different when you're with queer Latino people, don't you think? Yeah.
100%.
So I didn't feel like I could safely be a queer person even within my community, right? Even though they weren't my family, I still didn't feel like I would be safe, and which is so sad.
It is sad. I just feel like in our cultura, it's so we have this respect for our parents, tias, tios, grandparents, that we still hold a sense of like slight fear, especially the way we're raised. You were raised, what was it, Pentecostal?
Yeah, Pentecostal.
And I was raised Catholic, so yeah, I get that 100%.
Yeah, so it was really tough to navigate that, but it got to a point where I tried, being in a relationship with a man, and I even got engaged, but like at the end, I couldn't. I was like, I just can't see myself with a man. I was trying to think about some ways that I can kind of disassociate from that. And so I started to think if I were a doctor, then I could spend most of my time at work.
She wanted to be a doctor. That man was going to be very lucky. Not on the sex part, but she's going to be a doctor.
There you go.
And the reason I say she is because her pronouns are she, her.
Right.
Just like mine.
And so then, I was looking for ways where I could tick the boxes, but at the same time, kind of hold space for who I was. And I thought, being busy in work and digging myself in work, that would be the way for me. That's so sad, but yeah.
And what's interesting now that you say that is that you were willing to sacrifice your happiness and who you were as a person to live a life that would have been miserable for you.
Yeah, but it would have been good for my family, right?
But would have been good for your family, exactly. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, after realizing, what, like I can't be happy with a man. Like this is just not. I can't imagine myself living years and years in this relationship. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is done. Like I'm out of here. And once that was done, I got into the apps.
Oh man,
yeah,
dude, the apps are dangerous, and we're definitely gonna have an episode on that because I definitely want to hear your stories. I have some stories to tell. Like, what was the first app you were on?
Tinder.
You see, I wasn't even on Tinder. I was on like Plenty of Fish. The first one I was on was Plenty of Fish, and we were talking about moons ago.
Yeah, that's a while back.
That's a while back. Yeah. That's a while back.
Yeah, but I heard that one was better than Tinder.
It was better in a sense because
it asked you more questions.
Questions, but they also had, if I remember correctly, where if someone was near you, you could jump in to hook up.
Oh, really?
100%.
Well, you would know.
I'm not a hoe. I can count on both of my hands who I've slept with. Okay, I'm proud of that.
She's like,
still a virgin. I've been a virgin for 7 months now.
Yeah, let's call it that. Anyway, so after finding somebody on Tinder, I realized, okay, this is where it's at, right? Like, I definitely feel connected with this person. The sex part was great. Everything just felt really like this is who I am, and I have to embrace this, right? Yeah. Even though, like, I knew the repercussions of it, I knew my family weren't going to be accepting and loving and all these things. So I kind of waited until I was until I met the person that I felt I was going to remain with for a while.
Okay, to come out.
Yeah, to like tell my parents, hey, I'm with this person. So I met her. I met that person, and I called my mom and I called my dad. And at this time, they were split, right? So they weren't together, which was a big deal for me because now, you know how as an older sibling, you have to be the example. You have to. There's a lot of weight that goes into being would I say first generation? Because I wasn't born here.
I don't.
So I don't know then. I don't know. Okay, so
we don't know.
For me, I'm not first generation. First generation for me would be like the kids. If I were to have kids, they would be first generation. Yeah. So anyway, as an immigrant person,
as a main generation,
there's a lot of things. Like you have to have a career. You have to be able to help your parents financially. You have to like be a good sister, and sometimes being a good sister meant like stepping in and doing your fair share, right? So it'll kind of be like the second mom if needed. And so anyway, telling my parents, hey, I'm not straight was a huge deal in a sense of like, I knew that I was going to be stripped away from the family in some ways, and maybe they wouldn't, like, show affection, or like they would completely cut me off, right? So then I decided not to make it a big deal, and so I got on the phone and I was like, well, I didn't say anything. It was my dad who was like, "Are you seeing anybody? Are you with anybody?" And that was when I was like, "Yeah, I am seeing somebody. Her name is blah blah blah, and I really like her. I think she's a great person." And so he didn't say anything, and and it was, I think I said it so
Confidently and
nonchalant,
nonchalantly.
yeah, that he kind of like was like, "Wait a minute," because I feel like straight people, they are heterosexuals, like they feel like it should be this huge thing, like, "Oh, I have to tell you something, like I'm coming out and I'm telling you that I'm gay or a lesbian," and and I feel like that we should dismantle that, because they're not expected to tell us they're heterosexual. So why should we tell them that we're queer, And, it should
100%.
just be like, this is the person I love and this is who I'm with.
But I
And
think when it comes to that, I think one of the biggest things they focus on is the sexual intimacy part of it,
which is
which
wild.
is wild, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the first thing that everybody
Yeah.
always, that's the biggest thing that everybody,
Yeah.
even the crazy people that stand outside the pride, they're like, "You're a sinner because you're sleeping with it." I'm like, what about love? It's not
Yeah.
about sex all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. Even like thinking about like what's considered a sin and what we can.
I know.
God.
That's another episode.
Yeah, that's another.
We'll get into that. We're gonna get
Yeah,
deep.
yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
get
yeah.
deep here on queer
Yeah.
folks. So be ready. Be ready.
Yeah. Okay. So then I tell my dad that, and then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll talk to you next time." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So hang up, call my mom, tell her, how I'm doing. Then she asks me who I'm with, and then I tell her, "Yeah, I met this girl, and she's awesome. Her name is blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, right?" And so then, she's like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, "Okay, well, I have to go. Bye." And so then, anyway, nothing happened. And I was like expecting them to explode on me, right? To be like, "What are you talking about? What did I just hear that correctly? Like, what was that?" But I didn't get any of those things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't get it until afterwards, right? Until they had time to process everything I said.
Oh,
and then they were like, "It's because you live in SF, you became this way, like this is not normal." Like all these terrible comments. It got to the point where they were like, "There's an evil spirit that lives inside of you, and that's why you're like that." Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is that they couldn't accept the fact that this is who you were. They were blaming it on everything aside from the fact that this is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So that's really my story. Like, I don't have this huge thing, and honestly, I don't feel like we should have this huge thing. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, I don't think we should. I feel like my brother never came home and said, "Hey, mom, dad, I am a boy, and this is a girl, and we are together."
Yeah.
No, I felt like, at some point it was scary to come out. My coming out story isn't pretty roses and lilies and all that shit. It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
And I do feel like it has to do with religion.
I feel like it has to do with a lot of different things. Being Latino, religion, just like everything, I don't know. I would appreciate you telling your story, bro. I know that, it's not easy for us all the time, Yeah.
What about you, though?
All right. So my story, just a quick backup so you can kind of understand. At 7, I knew I liked girls. We had a babysitter who had a boy my brother's age, a girl my age, and that had other kids. She was our babysitter. And I remember finding the little girl cute. I was like, "Oh shit, this little girl's cute." We were playing hide and go seek, and we ended up in the closet together. And she was like, "Oh my God, do you think they're gonna find us?" And I was like, "I don't know." And like we were like face to face, and I just remember giving her a little peck on the cheek, and I was like, "Whoa, but we never talked about it or anything like that. So that's when I knew that I kind of was like, I'm into girls. This is weird. This is weird. But I think my coming out story, I was a little older, even though in high school and junior high, I would mess around with girls. Yes, I was with dudes. I fucking hated it. Um, and my coming out story was there was a person that came into my life who we started off as friends. And I remember telling my parents, hey, I met this person. They are a lesbian. We met in high school, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay. So they met her. They had a weird inkling. It was a very toxic thing. It became abusive. And I remember moving out at an early age because I hated when my dad would go through my room. He used to do this thing where he would go through my room, find notes. I used to smoke weed. I used to do acid. And he'd throw everything on my bed. And I hated it. So I moved out at an early age with this person. And this person didn't know what heavy drugs looked like because I wasn't brought up in that. And my mom would say, this person's not good for you. Like, this person's not a good friend, blah, blah, blah. I didn't catch those flags, but I think my mom already knew. I remember one time coming home from work, they were doing drugs in the living room. And I remember everybody left and we got into an argument and we got into a fight. I remember that was the last time I wanted to get hit. And I remember going outside, calling my mom, and I was like, Mom, I am with so and so. I need help. Like, this is happening. She's like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And she hung up on me. Didn't hear from her for a week. But what I didn't know was my mom was being like Wonder Woman, finding out because she didn't know where I lived. I lived on another side of Houston. And I heard a knock one day. I was smoking a blunt. I heard a knock on the door. And I look at the people, and it's my mom with like somebody. I don't know if he was a PI or an officer or whatever. And I just remember opening the door. She's like, "Get your shit. We're leaving." And the apartment looked like a crack house. It wasn't. The only place that was clean was my closet, and my room, because we had a roommate too. But I think my coming out story was that it shouldn't have been that for me or my parents. I'm sure it was tough. But they were very supportive. My dad took it a little harder. He did do a Dominican trip to every church where every saint appeared and try to leave pictures of me with notes in the back saying, please make my daughter straight. I used to tell my dad, that's not me, Papi. I'm going to be a lesbian. I am a lesbian. So I think everybody's coming out story is very, very, very different. Mine wasn't like what I wish it would have been, but it is my story. And I think that there are people out there that have probably similar stories or worse or not, but it made me who I am. And I am proud to be a fucking queer ass woman. I love feminine women. You are look at her. So she's beautiful. Going like this. Yeah, I'm looking at you. I'm single. I'm looking at you. Holla at me. Hit me with a D. Oh, there's no DM. There's no DM. I don't have socials, by the way, people. Remember, I'm 45. I don't do social media. All right. If you like them older, I'll teach you some things. We could do this. We could do this.
You're funny.
But I think for me, San Francisco, this is where I also found my androgyny, and that could be another episode on how she became how she wanted to dress, how I became who I wanted to be, because I was a feminine external person. Internally, I was very masculine, because even the dudes that I used to date would be like, I don't know, man, it feels like you could be one of the boys, like with heels and shit, because I wore heels and skirts. We did that. I have receipts. Maybe we'll probably try to edit this and add that picture, or maybe add one of our pictures of our femme selves. But
that's a good idea. I like
so
that.
We'll see. We're not editing pros, but we'll figure it out. So that's my coming out story, and it's never too late to come out. I think that during Pride Month, I think we should be very proud. I mean, all year round. It sucks that we have 1 month, just like anything else in the world, right? We have one like Juneteenth, we have one everything. I feel like we should all be embraced all year long. It doesn't matter what we are, who we are, how we live. So, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yes.
Bye. I'm drinking a bourbon, pig whistle or whistle pig. and she is drinking zero alcohol.
Word. This is not. This is not us trying to advertise anything.
I know, no, not at all, not at all. Whistle Pig, if you want to send me some samples, wink, wink.
You're funny.
Anything else that you? We do have a couple questions, and and I have an embarrassing story. I know we said we're going to mention one. I'll break it down real quick. So I was living in Florida. It was when I was in my 12-year relationship. Yes, I did have a 12-year relationship.
Damn.
Long ass relationship.
I want to know about that.
Okay.
No, okay. Another podcast.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. It was definitely 12 years too long, but I will say it was 12 years.
Be nice.
I'm being nice. That's one thing. That's one partner I can honestly say. Despite the challenges we had, that person it was not a tumultuous relationship. It was not a toxic relationship. But we'll definitely get into that. We ran into each other a few years ago. She told me she would always have my back. I told her the same thing. I'm not friends with exes, so it's very difficult for me to be friends with exes. And
I want to know what.
I just feel like once that chapter is closed, I don't feel like we have anything else in common.
So why were you with them?
Because at that moment we were like, there was a lot to it. I think after it, I don't know what I mean. I don't know.
I'm
gonna dig deep.
Yeah, dig deep on that.
Because I feel like that's why we got la maestra.
That's why.
But so my embarrassing story is, I remember we had just bought a house. I had just bought a house, and my grandma had visited Florida, and you know, when you have your own house, you can be intimate with your partner at any moment in time, whatever. So it was like midday weekend. We're like, let's get it in. And we're getting it in. My phone was going off and off and off. And so it wouldn't stop. So I fucking answered. And it was my mom. And I was like, what's up, Mom? She's like, hola, mija, ¿están en la casa? I'm like, yeah. Okay, es que tu tía y tu abuela quieren ir a ver tu casa. And so what I just said was, my mom said that they wanted to come over because my grandma and my tía wanted to come see the house. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, yeah. And I was like, are you already in the car? And she's like, no, your tia's using the bathroom. We'll be there, soon. I was like, fuck, all right. We had to stop. We jumped in the shower real quick. Yes, I was a femme, so I was getting dildoed. I don't know. What did you call it?
I said dildo down.
Dildo down. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's not a thing.
We'll have an episode on that.
Yeah.
So I remember just kind of getting ready, and I was like, fuck, and in Florida, they only live like 10 minutes away. So, we got ready, did all these things. My partner at the time went to the kitchen, whatever. Everybody they finally pull up. I open the door. They come in. They're looking at the restroom. They go to the master. Then they kind of hang out in the living room. And then the kitchen was like attached with the bar that separated the kitchen and the living room. And then all of a sudden, my mom goes towards the kitchen. And I kind of see that because I'm talking to my grandma and my tia. And my mom's like, Rosa! And by the way, anytime you have my name in a fucking text or you yell my name, it's going to be triggering. I'm just going to go, because it's traumatizing. And so I was like, ¿Qué pasa? And I thought it was like a rat or something. She's like, what is this? Just like this, like a fucking talk show host. What is this? And I go, and it's a big old fucking pink dildo. It wasn't small. Don't judge me. I will not take it.
But show us. Like this?
Like probably like this big. Maybe like this big.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't fulfilling for me though. Like now these days, like I always.
Was it back then?
No. I mean, even though she knew how to do it very, very well, it wasn't my thing. But now it has to be like this small, maybe this tiny.
Now it just shrunk.
It was never a thing for me. Like
yeah.
But I felt like again.
Yeah, for me either.
I felt like again because I was a femme counterpart. I felt like I had to. That was the thing. She was masculine.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because now she's feminine. I'm masculine, and when we ran into each other a few years ago, you were with me.
Yeah,
we were both like, "Oh shit, it makes total sense. You look good." Makes total sense. Anyway, so that was my embarrassing moment. So I remember yelling at my partner. I called her by her name, and I was like, "What happened?" She just stood there like, "I'm sorry, I don't know." And I grabbed that dildo, tossed it in the trash. That was like $350 down the trash because I don't buy cheap dildos. I just FYI
$350.
$350. It
You
had all
didn't,
kind of.
but you didn't. Once they left, you didn't go back and catch it.
Fuck no, because every time I saw that pink dildo, I hear my mom's name, Rosa. Imagine trying to get it in, and you're like, Mom. No, thank you.
Yeah, no.
I'll pass. I'll just buy another one. We never bought another one though. We didn't really need it. But I know you said that you usually ask, but I guess that will be another episode. We'll talk about like toys and shit because every time there's a breakup, there goes money down the drain. Some people recycle. I don't. I should just buy a box of condoms. I'd be like, this is what I got for you, girl. If you're up for it.
This kid.
Anyway, anything else that you would like to add before we answer one of these questions that we have?
No, I think this is good.
Yeah. Perfect.
Let's take a look at the question.
All right. Well, we're gonna answer one of the questions submitted again by my really, really dear good friend, mi manita. All right, whichever one. There's so many. We're gonna break it down in each episode, but we're gonna take one of these now. And guys, always submit. If you want us to answer a question, if you want to get to know one of us more or like experience, or you have something you want to share that you want us to kind of put out here, talk about, we're definitely open to that. So just throw it in the comments and we'll get to it eventually.
Okay, so one of the questions says, what would you advise your younger self on how to more easily navigate coming out to your family and friends?
I think for me, I wish I would have maybe, as my younger self, come out sooner because I do have a tia who's very butch, very dyke. I love her to pieces. So that visibility was already there. I didn't understand it though because I knew that she slept with a woman, and I as a kid, you just really don't. It's normal until it's not, right? So I didn't know that, and then I have another tia who's bisexual. And so, she's married to a man now, but I feel like I think I would have come out sooner because I probably would have had better guidance as to what I'm looking for or how to navigate this new life of mine. Because my parents are very supportive. And my dad also had him and his best friend owned a gay club in Houston, or they had a gay night at their club. So I think, for me, as my younger self, I think having that trust was not there. But I think if I would have been more brave and just come out, at a younger age, I think I wouldn't have made or wouldn't have been in this toxic relationship, or maybe I would have. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that experience taught me a lot. So, yeah. What about you?
For me, well, I wish I could have come out sooner.
Okay.
Or would have expressed that sooner. But I don't think I would have done it differently. I feel like if you really feel like you're not safe to be your full self in a certain place, especially being a kid, you should take care of yourself first. Mm-hmm. And then once you feel safe, then you can express yourself if that's what you want. But I don't think I could have done it better. Like I didn't want this huge thing. I did it in a very nonchalant kind of way where I feel like that was very authentic of me to like just, hey, this is who I'm seeing. You asked, right? So I'm just being honest and I'm just telling you, I'm seeing this person. She's a woman and this is where I'm at, right? So I don't think I would have done it differently.
Nice. And what same question goes to everybody out there. Yeah. What was the question again?
If you could navigate it differently, or tell your younger self, if you can go back and tell your younger self how you can navigate that differently, what would you do?
There you go.
Yeah. Answer. And for that goes for family or friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Put that in the comments.
What about for friends for you? Was that something that you would talk to them?
Honestly, when I came out, I did tell my friends the next day. I told two of
when your mom found out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Before that, no one knew?
No one knew.
Oh, okay.
No.
Even though you were doing your things.
Even though I was doing my things. I knew how to keep it on the low.
Oh,
like,
I see.
I knew how to meet girls in high school. And,
I see.
You know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I knew how to do it to a way where, like, and I would be honest with the girls. I'm like, don't say anything, like, no one knows. And they would be like, okay. And some of them were very open, and some of them were okay with that because they were also finding themselves as well.
I see.
So, and just because I messed around doesn't mean I was having sex with everybody. I did fun things, but not go down. But yeah, I lost maybe a couple of friends. But all the real people that are in my life are still in my life. They never judged me for it. They loved me even more. So,
that's nice.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you guys. I love you. You know who you are. You're ready.
Aww.
All right. So happy Pride again. I mean, we really appreciate. We hope Gigi's my co-host for the rest of this, episode. Podcast life.
That's right.
But we appreciate you tuning in to Queer Folks. Happy Pride and be safe. Have fucking fun. Hook it up or you haul it up. Whatever you want to do. This is your moment to shine. So we love you. Thank you to all our allies as well. We appreciate all the support and thank you for being in our lives, even if you're hetero.
Just kidding. Okay. Besos.
Besos. Ciao.